Meanwhile, Donald Trump, an interesting turn of events during this week. Zelensky from Ukraine said he'd nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize if they just gave him Tomahawk missiles so he could bomb Russia. And at this, I know, I love it. And then at the same time, he knows how to play him now. Whatever else you want to say, on his third visit to Washington D.C., Zelensky
Yeah, but
found out.
Trump's still kind of he takes little jabs
Yeah,
at Zelensky. They really love to humiliate that guy, don't they?
yeah, they do. And so Zelensky, he said maybe he'll help out Zelensky. Then he had a phone call with Putin, and he said, "Oh no, I'm not going to. I'm going to backtrack again. I'm not going to give you these. And you ought to just stop the war right where it is." And Zelensky said, "Well, no." And Russia said, "Hey, just leave us what we've got, what we've already conquered, and we'll call it a day." And of course they would, but that's not going to happen either. Meanwhile, the wonderful peace deal that Donald Trump put together in the Middle East, not the Mid East or the Midwest, but in the Middle East, kind of blew up literally over the weekend as both Hamas and Israel said they had violated the ceasefire accords, and Israel, well, bombed them, missile strikes to Gaza. Then said, okay, after they're done, okay, the ceasefire's back on. I guess until we break it again, there's not much they can do about it. So let's start with the first one, Ukraine. None of that surprises me, but I don't think that Donald Trump understands that this is not leading to the solve. I mean, he came out and said no president has ever solved a war before. So, I mean, completely mindless when it comes to history. But where does this leave us in Ukraine? Mark, I'll give you the first whack at that. Both of you are shaking your heads.
Right. Well, the war was supposed to have been over the first day of his frickin' administration, right? And never would have happened if he had been president at the first time around. Which I mean, all of
Although
that's
it was
just
occurring while he was around the first time.
yeah. Yeah. He said in the interview that when he talked to Putin, he said, "Hey Vladimir, is it okay if I send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine?" And he said Putin
No.
didn't think so, or something like
Yes.
that. I mean, it's just the level of frivolity and just jokes about such serious situations is just outright disgraceful. I think both cases, both circumstances, show a real lack of understanding of how international politics and the real world works outside of business, and that money just doesn't always control everything. And the tactics and the negotiation skills that they say he's so great at, which I call BS on, quite frankly.
Of course.
It doesn't work in solving these conflicts, and it's not going to work in solving a two, three, four, whatever number of thousands of year conflict we are with the Middle East. And we were talking about this all this weekend because I was with a whole bunch of fellow Jews because we did some comic conning and we did some panels on Judaism and comic books and combating racism and how comics dealt with it in the 40s and the 50s. But the notion of the reminder of October 6th, 24, right? Was it? No,
Right.
2 years. So 2023,
Three.
there was a truce in place until Hamas broke it and led to the massacre. And then all the bad stuff that happened since. And as you just mentioned, there's a so-called truce in place, and good things happen as a result. The final remaining surviving hostages were released. Bodies are coming home to their loved ones. That's really, especially the living, that's incredible. And let's give credit to where credit's due that finally happened. But if anybody thinks this truce and peace deal is sticking while Hamas is still around, I got a bridge
Or
somewhere
BB.
in the world to sell you.
Yeah, I agree. John, I mean, you were one of the ones who said you last time that you didn't think this peace would last very long. didn't didn't take a profit to figure that one out, but go ahead.